Do you yearn for travel that involves outdoor adventure and learning? I do. I also have a passion for all things farming and agriculture. I've traveled to exotic jungles to learn about growing chocolate. I even once owned my own organic vegetable and sunflower farm. And now I'm planning my journey back to agriculture. Agritourism, defined as travel that involves some type of agricultural experience. Agritourism is all about entertaining. But the marketing strategist in me knows that, at its core, agritourism is really about educating, and education affects change. My future farm needs to deliver a profound experience to all of its visitors. It needs to educate people about food, health, and climate. Join me to learn from experienced agritourism farmers and entrepreneurs and help me build my future farm strategy. And who knows, maybe one day soon you'll find yourself in a tropical jungle cutting open cacao pods with a machete, or savoring an outdoor plant-to-plate community dinner with 100 guests at a farm in Illinois. So let's tap into the agritourist in you. In bonus episode 3, I'm joined once again by Pattie Baker for a personal reflection on my journey to Nourse Farm in Westborough, Massachusetts. After years of building a life, career, and community in Long Island, New York, I made the decision to step back into the world of agriculture, not by returning to something familiar, but by embracing an entirely new challenge. What began as an opportunity to help shape the retail, education, and community-facing side of a historic farm has become a lesson in reinvention, resilience, and personal growth. In this conversation, we discuss the realities of starting over in a new environment, the intensity of taking over a farm store and CSA program, creating educational experiences, and building systems from the ground up. We also talk about balancing family responsibilities from afar, finding grounding in the daily rhythms of farm life, and navigating the uncertainty that comes with pursuing something meaningful. This episode is an honest look at what happens when you say yes to a new adventure. Even when the timing isn't perfect, the path is not clear, and the outcome is still unfolding. If you've ever felt called to begin again, follow a passion, or take a leap into the unknown, I think you'll find something in this conversation that resonates. This is Jen Ross, your Agritourist podcast host. Please subscribe and leave us a review. Now let's dig in. Where are you? We're in a different location.
I know. Yeah, I'm outside. It's finally late enough, right? I'm just at the side of my house. Yeah. Does that look okay? I think the light is better.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's
coloring
fine.
is better.
I know. It's not as many things going on in the background that I can comment on. Well, I don't have my mic. I do not have my light or anything because I was supposed to be back in Massachusetts, but I came home Sunday night and I was supposed to leave, and I'm here because my mom's in the hospital.
Oh no. What's going on?
Before I left, I was feeling like something was up with her. Like she just was off. Like she's normally, she's very in shape. She's independent. She's 83. She's fantastically healthy and stuff. But I just noticed something was off. And I know she gets bad allergies and sinus infections sometimes result from that. But she then was having this sustained fever. But then she went to the doctor. They gave her an antibiotic and she was fine, but the antibiotic wasn't like working like it wasn't it brought down the fever and then it shot back up. So my sister took her to the hospital on Saturday because she was having some trouble breathing, which was highly unusual. Again, it was like, that's not usual behavior. This doesn't usually happen to her. For her to say, I want to go to the hospital, is it, like she would never say that normally. Mm-hmm. And so she took her to the hospital. I was actually just there this morning and spoke to the doctor, finally got involved. And they think it's a pneumonia. They think there's a slight heart condition, but nothing like just something that diet, if she modifies some things in her diet. It was kind of that perfect storm of allergies, sinus infection. It broke down her immune system. Then other things started happening. So they think
if her numbers continue going down, they might release her tomorrow, which actually would be great. She's definitely more vital right now. She just has to, PT was coming when I left today, and I was hoping because they just need to, she needs to get up and move. They
Right.
have her hooked up still. And so, yeah, so hopefully if she gets out tomorrow, then I'll be with her the next 2 days and I'll probably get back up there. I have to be up there Friday. So I'm planning on going back Thursday night. Thankfully, we don't have a big event this Saturday. It's a slower week. We're just open weekends right now. The last few weeks have been extremely intense. So I'm kind of grateful this didn't happen then. The timing was
Hmm.
actually good, but it's obviously
Hmm.
you're being pulled in two different worlds,
Yeah.
and they're not around the corner from each other. So
Right.
and they're not, things that can be done remotely, so like right now
Right.
they can't be. So it's a little bit, you know, but the thing is, I had this gut feeling. I kind of just knew something was off. And I kept saying that to everybody around me, like something's off. Keep watching her. I had a long heart to heart with my girls and Andrew. Like, can you just pay extra attention? Make sure you
Hmm.
stop over there and stuff. But everyone's busy too. It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, hopefully things will continue to improve. And it's so great that you were able to, to come back and that you weren't that far away. And this does tie into that fear and concern that we all have, and that people are quick to remind us about
Yeah.
as well. What about your mother? What about your husband? What about your children? Whatever, whenever we are trying to do something a little bit different. And it is a reminder that we are juggling a lot of things in life and that we do our best to show up, and we can't wait for the perfect time to move forward with our own lives either,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and it's never like right now you probably have so much stress and worry, and you're balancing the two different things, and it's not easy, and
Yeah.
it's
I
and
feel
it's not
pulled
perfect. Oh,
in a
right.
lot of different directions. I was telling someone that this morning, like I woke up thinking, okay, I have to remember, I have all these things up in Massachusetts that I have going on that, I'm managing from here. And then I have my mom and then the house here, because once I come back into this house, I'm reminded, oh, wait,
Hmm.
I want to organize something. That's the one
Right.
thing I feel like this
Right.
is brutally honest, but when I come home, and it's not that they're not neat and they're not making extreme effort here, but it's like almost like someone said, yeah, it's like almost like a sorority or fraternity house where everyone has their own thing and they leave things in their own places but when I was here, it was organized and there was structure. The structure is
Hmm.
kind of left a little bit.
Right.
There's attempts to keep it, but
Hmm. Well, I
there's,
mean, the good news is in all of these situations, you're home and with your mom and at the farm, the good news is your presence seems to matter,
yeah, yes,
and I mean, that's a good problem to
yeah,
have ultimately, is that your presence does matter and that you are wanted and needed in all of these different places. And then it's a matter of, again, deciding where and how you're doing all of that. So,
yeah.
share with us how it's been going.
I was, it was funny. I made a little, I was, did a quick inventory before I got on the phone with you. And, I kept using the word overwhelming the last few weeks, and it is, but I'm not a fan of that word. So I was like, what else could so I came up with intense. There's an intensity to everything right now. And there's like this constant juggling of
Mhm.
so many different things, you know, there's just so many different things going on, and it's this constant juggling of all these different things. And then some days it's just very intense like you're doing like, figuring out margins on products, to figuring out who you're hiring, to cleaning a bathroom, to
Mhm.
like, getting deliveries and dealing with vendors. to then getting on the phone and dealing with, Abby needs to do something with college, so it's just,
Right.
it's
Well, we can
constant
for
juggling.
anyone who's listening for the first time, do you want to summarize what you're doing
Yeah.
and what brought you to this situation?
Yeah. So I live in Long Island, New York, and I am now working with Nourse Farm in Westborough, Massachusetts as their retail farm manager. That's the best title we came up with. And overseeing basically, they have a farm store. So I'm overseeing the entire, the farm store. And it's not a significantly large store, but there's a lot that goes into any size store. Uh, Overseeing their about a 300-person market style CSA, overseeing all the events, birthday parties, camps, field trips, education initiatives that go on at the farm, and just basically overseeing the entire, like we do you pick your own process that's upcoming in the next month. We start with strawberries and blueberries and raspberries. So any customer facing piece of the business, I am pretty much overseeing, working with a farmer, an established farmer that's on the property, and coordinating with him. He's growing. I'm kind of doing everything else. So in a state I'm not as familiar with, in a town that I'm not as familiar with the customer, but using all my marketing and farming and business development skills.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we left you last, in these conversations, these are kind of side conversations to your podcast, and we've had two related to your trips to Italy and then this farm adventure. And when we left you last, there was nothing yet in the store, and you were solidifying the details of the CSA, and nothing. Your operations were not open or active yet. So, take us to opening day at the store.
Well,
So
they are open.
I walk
Yes.
in as a customer, and what do I see?
So right now the store has many products in it, and mostly Massachusetts producers. So we have a lot of shelf stable items right now. We started getting in rhubarb and asparagus from the farm, and I also brought in some other greens, just a few other greens like kale and lettuce and some broccoli from some other Massachusetts farms, and some flowers for Mother's Day. So we opened on March 2nd and 3rd. So we're just open weekends in May, which is actually the perfect way to get started.
Wait, you
And
opened March or May?
May, excuse me. I keep
Okay.
saying March. May 2nd and 3rd was our soft opening.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the shelf stable products and some produce from the farm and some other local farms, we also have a commercial kitchen. So we do pies, and we do cookies. We have a donut machine, so we do donuts.
The
And
famous donut machine.
yes, and so some other, and then some other baked goods. But we started with kind of some of our basics, getting up to speed with all of those. Also, we're testing some bread recipes. Our baker is a really good bread maker, so it's a natural. So we're actually on our CSA Appreciation Day at the end of May. We're using them as a focus group. So we're testing the bread out, and we're gonna use it with them and do some taste testing with them. But so basically, when people walked in on our soft opening, the store was, we also, I redid the store. So I redecorated the store. There were things on the wall, but I kind of shuffled things around, and there were some historic tools on the wall. And so what I did was I moved them into a section and created a little museum on the sides with some information on what those tools were used for, because we have obviously over 300 plus years history at the farm, and we have these great historic panels that we just put up outside. So when you walk in, you can kind of learn about the history on these panels, on these billboards, and then you can come into the store, and then we continue the history with these tools. But I used a local photographer, Nancy Wright, who has taken many pictures at the farm, and we blew up some of her photos. So there's some beautiful photo of a sunflower, of course, of another flower with a bee right by our honey, of the cows at the farm, of a horse at the farm called Mama, and a beautiful picture of the barn and some of the scenery at the farm, and then blueberries. So it's just, once I put those on the wall, it just, everything kind of brought together because it popped this color, and it just brought everything together. So there was a lot of decoration involved and figuring out where things should go. And at first, when I walked in, I have to say, I had no clue. I just was like, how am I going to figure this out? But as I just kind of, I just started like peeling back the onion and taking things out and getting rid of things and bringing in new. And as we started working on things, it just came together. And it still requires a lot more work. And there's a lot more merchandising that I have to do. That one of the people I've hired, one of the students I hired, has great expertise in that. And she already came and did a sneak peek and gave me some ideas, but she has a ton of ideas. So when she starts, I'm really excited. But I think, I've gotten tremendous feedback on how people really love the way it looks, and it's very welcoming. And so I'm excited. It definitely was a feat to get it all put together by May 2nd. It was like 2 weeks, and it was intense cleaning, and just, there were so many things to do. It was exhausting, but it came together really nicely. And then last Saturday, we had a very big community event. It happened to rain, but we still had over 150 people come. And I had some vendors there, and people, we have like hiking trails off of our farm. And I had the Westborough Land Trust there, and they took 20 people for a hike. And it just was a really great day. And Amanda gave a food demo. And I did a talk on rhubarb, and we did a tasting of our strawberry rhubarb pie. So it was a really great opportunity to meet a lot of people and really get to know some of the local people in the community. And we had a successful day. And then it was Mother's Day the next day. So it's only been 4 days we're open.
And what does it feel? It feels like more than that, right?
Yes. It was funny. When I was up there like 2 weeks, it felt like a long time I had been up there. I was like, it's only 2 weeks. We accomplished a significant amount in 2 weeks, like just to open. I underestimated what it was going to take to open the store, definitely.
And yet you did it.
Yes, I did it. I did it with the help of many people who took on different aspects. I led it, but there were many people contributing to that, definitely. And,
so how has your experience been in general? I know you've posted a bit about the animals, and there's new goats, and, your general love of the farm. Can you share with us a little bit what is life like on the farm, and how is it meeting your expectations for what it was going to be like?
It like I mean, one of the things I love the most, the goats are actually coming this Friday.
Okay.
There was a process, and then last week I visited a friend in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, an old friend who I visit in the Berkshires. Basically, I visit often, and it was really great to see her, because it is nice to visit people, and you're in such a new environment, and you're meeting all these new people, and you're getting to know all these people. It's just nice when you can see some people that know you, and I went to visit her and have lunch with her, and the goat owners happened to live literally 5 minutes from her. So I was like, great, let me go meet the goats that are coming. And that was just so much fun. But one thing, I guess I didn't think about, animals. The end of my day is just, the animals just have become part of it. And that was not expected. Like, that was not like, this woman, Karen, owns the horses there, and I've become very friendly with her. And just being around them is just such a calming force. I'm not even doing anything with them. I'm usually watching her do all her stuff, but there's just this calming force. So it is very grounding for me to have that, especially in the chaotic environment of trying to get this up and running.
Mhm.
And the goats also add a level of, animal responsibility. I don't have any animals up there. So, I had my dog here and then I have two cats here, but I miss that responsibility. So I'm always
Mhm.
like, I don't mind, helping out, but they're just very grounding and it's just nice. The scenery there is amazing. You know, it's everything I anticipated from that perspective. It definitely, it's been so busy and I haven't been as much outside during the day when I'm there. When I have staff working inside, which I had one of the staff members come last Saturday. Otherwise, I'm kind of stuck in the store during those hours because I'm dealing with customers and stuff. That won't be the case as much. I'll be kind of in and out, working on the CSA, working with people there for events and stuff. So right now, there's a lot of inside, which, is not and tied to the inside and the
Mhm.
register. But I have
Right.
to learn all that in order to teach other people that. So I'm
Mhm.
making a lot of the mistakes now. I'm learning you know, the little the little intricacies of the POS system,
Mhm.
the things I didn't know, the surprises of how things work or don't work. That's all happening now, which is a necessary evil in order for me to fix it and train people going forward the proper way. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of mistakes being made and corrected. So,
Well, I can really appreciate what you said about the animals because I mean, folks ask me what I miss about woofing, the 11 woof farms where I volunteered, and there's so many things, of course, but it does come down to the animals because, I come home and there's still people, I've got gardens,
yep.
but I don't have llamas, I don't have sheep. So, and it's not so easy to find them, to access them in a suburban or an urban
Yep.
environment. So I actually rode my bike down to the Atlanta, I'm in Atlanta, down to the Atlanta History Center a couple weeks ago because they have a little heritage farm there, and I needed to pet sheep. I just had to have a sheep fix. I was like, where am I going to find these sheep? So
That's
I can
funny.
appreciate how you feel because, even at the farms when, some farms you're done by 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you can go off. I particularly like the ones where they're the animals. And of course you have more responsibilities then. So you do need to be there at 5 o'clock or whatever
Right.
for the evening feeding. And even though that cuts into your freedom to go and do other things, I would always choose the animals over that. So
Yep.
I can appreciate how you feel. I was so happy to see when you were posting, that you had made
Yeah.
friends with the horse and, you know, all of that. And then about
Yep.
mistakes, I mean, do you feel like you're a person who is comfortable with mistakes, or has that been something that you've had to sort of just lean into?
Uh, I think over the years I've gotten comfortable and I know there's a lot I'm learning right now and so I'm pretty comfortable with it. Sometimes I get annoyed that there is how did that go wrong?
Hmm.
Or but some of that's again I'm comfortable with it at this point because it's actually I'm glad these things are happening now because
Hmm.
when June comes along and we have 300 people coming to the farm over, every week plus all the other customers and all the other stuff that's going the U pick and everything going on. I need to know these things up front. I need to
Right.
know how these things work. And, you know, I don't always find these things. Obviously, sometimes a customer, finds it or a family
Hmm.
member finds it. But at this point, I think as we get older, we get more used to that. And it's part of this process.
Hmm.
Um, and as I told, the farm family, I am here to build an operation so that you don't have to someone doesn't have to go through all that craziness. I'm wading through all this detail stuff and fixing things now so that there is an operation to follow, and it's much easier in years to come. It's
Mm-hmm.
simpler. There's improvements that will always need to be made and tweaked, and things need to be more efficient, etc. But I'm kind of getting through. We're working through the nitty gritty right now and getting things really organized and operationalized. That's
Mm-hmm.
my biggest. Honestly, that's my priority here right now, is to create an operation, to create procedures, to create a way to function efficiently and effectively.
Now, thank you for sharing that. It sounds like that is probably, my next question was going to be, what do you enjoy the most? But it sounds like sort of making sense from disorder is something you actually enjoy doing. So maybe, are you in your sweet spot when that's happening, even though it's busy?
I am, one of my strengths has always been to be a builder.
Mm-hmm.
I was always given opportunities, especially in corporate America. Here's an idea. Something we want to think about. Can you figure out how to do it and build it? That's my strength. And
Mm-hmm.
it could be, as people think this is so simple. This is not simple by any means. It's, whether it's a store, or, like a retail function, or it's some bigger project or whatever. That's what I'm good at. I'm really good at building it out, figuring out the how-tos, figuring out the strategy, building it out. That's what I love. So yes, I am in my sweet spot,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Well, you just shared that some people think it's easy. Do you feel like, even in today's day and time, with the increased exposure and knowledge folks have about how farms are run and how difficult farming can be in various, actual climates and economic climates, do you feel that that you meet still feel that this is a romanticized getaway kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. People will always, when the grass is always greener. When people
Mm-hmm.
don't know, they look at it from the outside and might see things all organized and whatever, and think,
Right.
you just walked into it. And that's in anything. I mean, I'm just running the one side of a farm business, which is intricate and challenging in its own right. But
Mm-hmm.
then, when in my old world, when I had heartbeat farms, I was running both sides. I wasn't, I had someone I was farming with. So I wasn't farming myself, but I was farming and I was doing all these things. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a store per se, but we had a mobile farm stand truck. We had like a moving store, we had a CSA. That's even more intricate because, you know, but the one good thing about that is, both sides. You know how to, what you're growing, what's doing well, what's not doing well. Now, one of my challenges, one of the things that's kind of risen to the surface on something I really have to pay extremely close attention to, is coordination with the farmer, is
Mm-hmm.
how to stay in sync with him, understanding him, his personality, how to communicate effectively with him, something that will work for him and his schedule, because obviously he needs to be out in those fields. He needs to be getting done everything he needs to get done. How do I keep in sync with him so I know what's going on in the fields? What what do I need? What am I promoting to my CSA customers? What am I going to get into the store? What I might need to order from some other local farms?
Mm-hmm.
That coordination and understanding that side is so critical. And it's a challenge because you're working with someone new and you're trying to get to know how to work with them, and that's in any business. That's not just
Mm-hmm.
this. But we're in a way, we're two distinct businesses coming together as one business to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always easy.
Well, to that point, can you talk a little bit about the CSA and where you're at with that?
So basically, we closed. We're around 300, which was a little over where we wanted to be
That's a lot.
this year. It's a lot. I was at 125 in my old CSA, and that was a lot. Uh, so, and it's a market style CSA. So we will not be producing until we will not be distributing, excuse me, until the first or second week in June. It's to be determined. It's based on obviously availability and the amount of produce that will be available. So basically, I have a CSA appreciation day where I'm inviting our CSA customers to the farm at the end of this month, just for an hour and a half to do a farm tour, get them
Oh, that's
familiar with
nice.
what's growing, where it's growing, have them ask as many questions as they want. And then, like I said, we're doing a tasting with them and getting their feedback. So they'll be the first people to taste the bread and some of the things that they can put on the bread. You know, some of the products we're selling in the store, expose them to the oil we're selling and the jams and, you know, the different things we're selling. So it gives them a real, I want them to feel that they're part of this because they've invested in this. And I want them to be invested in different ways, you know, in their
Yeah.
opinions and feedback. That was really important to me at my farm. And I wanted to bring that aspect into this farm. So, you know, people are signing up for that. So the CSA, June is going to probably be one of the toughest months of my life because it's kind of the CSA is starting. I have like birthday parties and field trips almost every week and a graduation party mixed in, and there's like all this stuff going on, new staff. um you know, like the store will kind of be in abundance, so the, you know, all the vendors I'll be ordering from, so it's going to be the culmination of everything's new and everything's going to explode in the month of June.
It's like
July
June,
should be better.
yeah, June is showtime.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally. So now I'm in dress rehearsal.
Yeah. Well, now these field trips, is that a thing that happens every year? So there's kind of a protocol for that already?
Um, no, it has happened. So they have always done things like this, but there's not been a complete set protocol. And it's something that from an education perspective that I wanted to kind of assess this year. I kind of was, you know, some field trips came along, which I'm happy about. And I'm meeting with those teachers to really think about, you know, what we kind of talked about, some unique things to do at the farm. And we want to actually, we're going to do those field trips. Like one of the schools is hiking. They can hike to the farm
Oh,
through these
wow.
trails.
That's
So,
fabulous.
so they're going to hike and then they're going to focus on history, not
Okay.
science.
Right.
So we're going to bring them through a history tour of the farm. So again, there's different integration based on the grade, you know, and then the other farm is doing more science-based thing, and it's all around strawberries, you know. So
Right.
and they're coming in June, obviously, which is strawberry season, and we're actually going to be doing the strawberry donuts for them. So we're going to, you know, and we're doing like
Yay.
a tour of the farm and kind of integrating, you know, discussion around a lot of science-based stuff and observations on the farm. They're going to be doing journaling. So there's different curriculums. But one of the things I want to do with these teachers is basically the last podcast I did was with Medway Community Farm. And it was about education because they have one of the most integrated farm education programs. They're integrated into their school curriculum. And this is through many years of work, but I'm so impressed by what they've done that I want to use them as a model for what we could potentially do. And we have a lot of work that we have to do. It's not of this year, but both of these teachers are committed to working with me on this. And it was funny, one of the things Medway said to me, you know, early on was, you need to have the commitment of some ambassadors from the school that really want this to happen. And they came to me without even trying.
Right.
And honestly, if there's one thing I'm so excited about, it's that, because
Well,
that's the one thing I loved at my farm.
working with the schools
Working just on education
and
programs,
education in general.
having that impact.
The Medway interview was so interesting because I was trying to run the math in my head. Obviously, it seems like, was her name Marley? The
Marley
educator?
is the newer educator.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think she said that she's been out of school for 11 years. That would put it back at 2015. And which means, I guess, so she was in high school, I guess, or a little bit younger during, I guess, probably high school during Michelle Obama and the whole garden at the White House. And prior to that was Alice Waters, of course, in the Edible Schoolyard out in Berkeley. And Alice's program, the Edible Schoolyard, did expand to the whole Berkeley district. And of course, then that was the kind of stimulus for the school gardens around the
Yep.
country. And so Marley kind of came, I'm sure she knows that earlier history, but she came in, at such a tail end of that first wave.
Yep.
And one of the things I thought was interesting in that interview is when you were talking about how to start a program like this. One of the things your listeners may be interested to know is that during that time period in the 2000s, in early, like maybe up to about 2011 or 12 or so, gardens started at so many schools around the country. And when I'm going around on my bike, I like to visit the local ones a lot. And there's always abandoned ones. And so an easy way, a really easy way to start is if your school has an abandoned garden, or if you can find abandoned gardens in your community. There were so many built
Yeah.
in that 10-year period. And that's, you're often just clearing a bed out, putting fresh compost in, and then boom, you've got a garden that was already endorsed by
Yep.
administration, that was already embraced by the teachers and the community. So
Exactly.
the barrier to beginning is not
Exactly.
really as high as I think some people may think. And
Yep.
especially if you can, from a history, like you mentioned, history, if you can dig out old photos from the school that showed the bounty and beauty of that space. And then, like there was a boy who came by my house yesterday, a high school boy, and he was pressure washing. And I have a big organic garden. And I said, I don't like all the chemicals. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, you're just like my mom. We can do it completely without chemicals, whatever." And we got to talking about it. And he gave me his card, and he was going on and on about the garden. And I realized afterwards, I looked at the card, it was his mom who started one of the school gardens. So here's now a high school senior,
That's
who
great.
had been a kindergartner, like you were talking to Marley about the kindergartners. So I love like what all of the things you're talking about. As you know, I mean, you've been doing this a long time as well. We were talking about all of this stuff in the 2000s. So do you
Yep.
find that having had your children grow up in the schools during that time period, and for you having had your farm, as you're going about these challenges and putting these things together, are you feeling any of this deja vu?
Yes, I am, but I feel like we've gotten away from it again. And where Marley also in California, I'm sure it seemed, it's more pronounced in California, but we're still struggling, at least in the Northeast, I'll say. I can't
Okay.
speak for other places. I feel that like I do a community garden program still at a school. Like I go in and I teach the kindergarten. They invite me back every year and they love having this program and I love doing it. But I don't find it prevalent. There are some schools that do it. But then what I don't find is what Medway is doing.
Mm-hmm.
This school district has not just committed a community garden at certain stages of the schools, like people in the school. They've committed like to going to this farm and having
Right.
curriculum at the farm. Like the fourth graders come to that farm once per month during the fourth grade year, and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing different things at the farm the entire year.
Yeah,
Like they commit a whole day of the month. And I know that sounds crazy. It's just a whole day. That's a big
that's a
deal.
big deal. Yeah.
people don't, people
Right.
who have kids in school and teachers understand what a big deal that is. Because I used to do the field trips for our elementary school, and I saw what it took just to get to do a field trip.
Hmm.
Not just the time out of the school, which is very difficult, but the bus, the
Right.
whole thing
All the
and it's
logistics.
expensive. But there are grants for these things, and I just and what I loved about Medway, just look, it's taken a long time, but where they're at, like I keep saying, it's they need to model this because and what I love about Nourse Farm and what I knew history was important, but I'm like, oh my God, there's a history component here. There's a science component. There are so many soft skills. There could be they're doing journaling. There's English. There's so many components to how these kids at every level of the education, K through 12, could benefit from an exposure to the farm, and then potentially us going into the school and helping with
Hmm.
a garden or
Right.
whatever the case may be.
Right.
So it's a there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm that part, the fact that there's interest there and excitement there, and that the fact that this school is going to be hiking to the farm, like my school in Long Island would never, they wouldn't allow that for liability. There'd be so many, but I was just like, you're allowed to hike here. Like I just was like enthralled by that. Like you're taking fourth graders through the woods on, and it's not like a 2 minute thing. It's probably a 20-minute hike. It's,
Mm.
and it's through the woods. It's over a rock
Yeah.
wall. It's like over some streams. It's like, this is intense. So I'm like so excited. Like I want to go on this field
When are
trip
they coming?
in June, middle of June.
Middle of June.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like 40 kids. And then the next day, 80 kids are coming from a different school. They're coming on a bus. And they're doing, the whole strawberry thing, so
Okay. And
it's
so
just really
are you the
exciting.
are you the educator at those
I
events?
am in I'm working with the school in
Okay.
doing that. So there's components that I will help with,
Hmm.
and then there's components that they're leading. We're kind of collaborating a lot on this one. I'll pull one of our farmers in for some of it. So there's just a lot of collaboration.
Right.
There's some stuff they're doing a little independent, and then I'm going to be involved in some things. So I'm so excited. Like,
Well,
it's like,
I know that the Medway one, you were asking a lot of questions, making it clear that you were hoping, maybe next year to implement something like that. But of course, you have the students already coming, so you've got
yeah,
pieces
I
of it
didn't
already
anticipate
happening.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And I also remember you had a podcast quite a while ago about the teacher who had the chickens at the school.
In
Remember
Queens.
her? In Queens, that's right. And
Yes.
I'm wondering if there are other podcasts in particular that you're thinking of specifically as you're at this farm. Thank you.
That's a good question. You know, it, a lot of them, like a lot of people cross my mind sometimes when I'm there.
Hmm.
It could be animal specific. Like Dory from Berkshire Farm Sanctuary was basically helped me facilitate getting the goats. So there's
Hmm.
been people like I've reached out to for different things. But I am going to definitely tap in to and have already tapped into people from the past interviews. Um, yeah, just even with the CSA, I mean, I've talked to so many people doing different CSAs, and they're in my head,
Hmm.
but nothing's jumping to mind right away. But like I
Well, I
said,
think of
it's
your
just,
Italy. I'm just so
uh,
happy to hear that these buses can park, after
yeah.
your Italy concerns about the parking.
Well, let me just mention one thing, one just quick follow up on Italy. They sent me, Nino sent me the itinerary for their farm tour and
Oh,
tasting.
interesting. Wait. First, can you just give a quick summary of what the Italy experience was?
So at Orto and Festa, the farm in Sicily, my last visit, we spent a lot of time talking about integrating a farm tour and tasting into their farm, because they are focused on education, and what a great way to do it, and also make money, which will
Mm-hmm.
help sustain their mission and vision of really teaching people about sustainable regenerative farming. So before I left, we had talked, through all these considerations and things that they need to kind of pull together. And they've since built their farm table, which is where people will end up for
Oh, they
tasting and
did.
discussion. Oh my
Ah,
God. And I
did they make
posted
it big?
actually,
Is it big?
yes, I posted a picture of it
Oh, I
on
didn't
my
see it.
Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, it is so great. It a few weeks ago. So when I got that picture, I was so excited. And then Nino sent me last week, I think, an itinerary for the tour. And I was so excited to review it because everything we discussed was in there, and they just took it to a different level. And I was like, I can't wait to come visit
Oh,
and
that's
do this.
fabulous.
And the one thing they did, which we came out of our meeting that day, which we weren't like talking about before that meeting, was what to do with kids that come with their families.
Right.
And they have an amazing, like, they put together, probably with the leadership of Lydia, this amazing curriculum for the kids that they talk about in this itinerary. And I was blown away. I was like, they asked me for feedback, and I was like, just do it. Like,
Yeah.
just do it. Like, trial it out and see how it goes and learn from there. I said, but
Mm-hmm.
it looks fantastic. And I just felt so excited for them.
That's amazing. Do you know when they're going to start offering that?
They 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 want to trial it out at the end of May,
Okay.
with their CSA customers, which is, and or some other people. And then they will start promoting it
Mm-hmm.
once they get feedback and kind of work out the kinks and stuff like that. Because you need to flow through it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at these field trips that I'm doing. We have these itineraries, but we agreed that let's flow through them, and then let's sit down and kind of talk about what worked, what didn't work, what you'd like to see going forward, what the farm can
Mm-hmm.
deliver. Maybe they want space at the farm to do some gardening. These are things like that need to be discussed and then planned for. But you got to do the trial run. You got to
Right.
make the mistakes, see how things flow, see how the kids respond to these things. But it's
Right.
really exciting. Again, building. This is all about building, and it excites me. But I did not anticipate working on this so soon, but I'm so excited I am.
That's
So,
amazing. Well, you said, I think this upcoming weekend, what particular event do you have this weekend?
well, the goats are coming Friday.
The goats are coming
And
Friday.
the
Okay.
stores open Saturday and Sunday. So this is a calm weekend. There's no events. We had the big
Okay.
event last Saturday. So I look at this as a low key weekend.
Mm-hmm. And is there a spot? Are there already goats? Or would these be
There
the first?
was, but we're kind of redoing it, and we're
Okay.
also giving them a specific place. We're giving them a place in the barn, like a stall in
Okay.
the barn. So there was some reconfiguration that we had to
Okay.
do. So
And
they're
who takes
actually
care of them? Who's in charge of the
this
goats?
woman Karen,
Okay.
she's
The horse.
the
Okay.
horse lady, who's become a close friend of mine,
Oh, good.
and she will take the leadership role on it. I told her I will definitely support her because I'm interested in learning. I
Yeah.
never took care of goats. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know much about horses. I'm sometimes intimidated around horses, so
Yeah.
I want to become more comfortable and educated about these animals. We also have the Cummings Veterinary School literally down the road from us,
Mm.
for Tufts. And so it's a whole veterinary school. They have a whole farm, and that's where Karen actually works. So, the gentleman, one of the gentlemen who runs some student initiatives and helps recruit, he came to our event last Saturday. So I got to know him. And so I want to learn about what they're doing there also. So, they deal with all sorts of animals. So it's just interesting. It's a whole world that I've not been exposed to, which didn't realize that I would be in this fashion, but I love it.
Oh, I love that. Well, what has your weather been like? Have you had a nice spring? Or you're in Massachusetts, so if you can ground us a little bit here out in
Cool.
podcast land.
It's been cool. Uh, sweatshirt, sometimes jacket weather.
Hmm.
Um, I think almost every weekend we've been open, it's been raining or cloudy and cool, which is fine because I'm like, it's again, I feel like these are the trial runs. So I'm kind of, I'd rather not have a huge,
Hmm.
dose of people yet. Let's make the mistakes with a few people. But yeah, it's been cool though. It's definitely been cool. We've had some warm, when I first got up there, it was warm, but then it cooled off again. Like one day it was frost, we had to
Mm.
watch out for what was growing and stuff. But it's been moderate but cool. Definitely not
Yeah.
like where you are. So
Well, we've had actually, I've lived here for, I don't know, 35 years or something. And I think this is the nicest spring we've had
good for
because it's
you.
still spring. I mean, it's still spring, and that's just unheard of. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we usually have our humidity and heat rolling in. It's coming any
Good.
minute. It's coming any minute. But we've had a really lovely spring, and it's been a really good year for I say every day it's a good day to be a crop. So we have good bounty in the spring and the fall as well as the summer. So it was really
Good.
good. Sometimes that the heat comes too fast, and
Yeah, I know.
we kind of lose the end of things. But so folks all across the country who are on farms or wanting to be on farms and are thinking about logistics of how you even start to pull all this together. You've given advice before in the past, but now with your feet on the farm, is there any updated advice you'd give to anyone?
Who wants to do what
I guess for
specifically?
farmers who want to get into agritourism, or for people in general who want to get into farms.
That's well, as far as if you want to get into farms, I think it's the same advice, go volunteer. Make sure this is something that and what like and go volunteer to figure out what aspect of farming you would like to
Hmm.
get into because and then potentially get a role at a farm in, you know, because I think once you're at a farm and you could be working on a CSA, you could be working on a farm store, you could get to understand the different aspects and then you might decide I really want to run all this. I want to have my own farm. That's great. It's just there's a lot involved, a lot of skills, different types of skills you need to be in farming.
Hmm.
It's not you can't just be a farmer. You can't just be out in the fields because you need to sell your product somehow or offer it in some way where you're getting the money to be able to keep doing what you're doing. And there's different ways to do that as we've covered in the podcast. So I think you and I are both big believers in volunteer to learn,
Hmm.
and there are so many different opportunities to do that, as both of us know. And as far as agritourism goes, that is a big question. But I think, when I talked to Marika out in New Zealand, you know, there you really need to understand how agritourism is defined for your area of where you live because there are rules around this, there are government restrictions around this, there's things you need to think about before you even decide what you're going to do. So I think it's really important to either
Hmm.
find an organization like Marika has out in New Zealand, which they exist in America, or consult with someone who in your area or some agriculture organization or another farm that's doing it. There are farms who want to help each other, and that's what I do love, about this industry. And really
Well,
understand the nature of what agritourism means for your area.
right. So by what it means, you mean sort of its legal classification.
It's yes, and what your town or
Hmm.
region will tolerate,
Right.
what you might need some kind of certification or who knows or permit or something. You also then once you find all that out, then you need to look at your farm and what you can deliver,
Hmm.
what's safe to deliver. Do you want people walking in certain areas? There really needs to be an understanding of what you want to deliver to the public and how much access you want them to have to your farm. It could just be as simple as an education program or a CSA or a tour. those are not simple things all the time, but you know what I'm saying? Or it could be something a lot more intricate, but you really need to understand where your farm is located and what the rules are, and then yourself and the needs of your farm. And some people are really people, they want to be around people and some people don't. So if you're not the one who wants to be around people, then maybe you need to hire someone who's going to do that for you. But there's a lot to consider before you jump in. The podcast, like obviously I've spoken to so many different people that can help you make those considerations. And then there's so many resources. Like a lot of the organizations I've spoken to farmers, but I've also spoken to a lot of organizations that can help you with these things. There are marketers out there, who are experts at this and can really help you figure out all the things you have to think through.
Mm. How are you? Thank you for that. And I think especially ordinances and permits and things like that, folks don't always think about, even in regards to community gardens and
Yep.
Any kind of
Yep.
land use, really. What has been the situation, or what has been the experience for you in the living situation?
The first week was so difficult. It was hard. I would come home to this very quiet house, which was, it's not huge, but it's big for me,
Mhm.
It has like 3 bedrooms and, like a kitchen, a dining room, and a few living areas. And I'm just like, I basically live in the bedroom, the bathroom, and the kitchen are my
Yeah.
favorite spots, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful home, but it's hard. It's hard to come home to a very quiet house. I'll
Mm.
put on Netflix, but a lot of my work, I can't have that noise going on. If I'm, let's say, editing a podcast, I can't do that. So it's just, it was, that first week was lonely. It was really lonely. I'm on the phone, I'll be on the phone or FaceTime, but the second week I became so busy that I was so exhausted at night that I would come home, do work, and go to sleep. It was just like, or watch a little bit of Netflix and go to sleep. And the third week the same. So, and I've gone out with a few people now, for dinner here and there. So it
Mhm.
kind of breaks up the week. And, like anything, it's just a change and it's an adjustment, and it's forcing me, it forces you to face change. But it's been interesting. It's been interesting. I miss the noise of home.
Mm. And
I do.
that's a bit of a gift to,
Yeah.
to be able to spend time by yourself, and to also recognize that you like being around the other folks as well.
Yeah.
That's
But it's
certainly
funny.
2 gifts.
Yeah. But now that I've been home a few days and it's been very chaotic here, I'm kind of like, the quiet of that house. So it's like, I'm kind of like, I feel very like opposite, right? Like, I don't know what I
Right.
want.
The grass is always greener, right?
I have to say my morning walks are still the sanctuary for me,
Okay.
whether it's here or there.
So you're
I do,
you're still able to do that.
I take them, and if I have to get up extra early, I do that,
Mm-hmm.
because number one, it physically makes me feel good, it mentally makes me feel good, emotionally makes me feel good, and it just grounds me for the rest of the day. And
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful also just to get to know new neighborhoods, and I enjoy, like, that's how I really am getting to know the neighborhood and seeing things and where things really are versus, just in a car going past.
Mm-hmm.
You really notice things when you're walking and
Yeah.
the beauty of things.
You're building a relationship, with it.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like your June is going to be particularly busy and fruitful in many ways, not just strawberries. I wish that you could give us out here in podcast land a taste of the donuts. There's been talk of the donuts several times in the podcasts, and that's all I can think about lately, it seems, is your donut machine. So will we be
Yeah.
seeing a video of the donuts being made, or, is
Yes,
there a,
actually, I just added a donut page to the website. It's a simple page, but it has a video of,
okay.
and it has a little bit of the production. There'll
And
be more.
mhm. What's the website address?
Nursefarms.com. So Nourse farm.com, not plural,
Right.
farm.com. There
Okay.
is a Nurse
There's another one.
Farms
Yeah.
related to this family out in Western Massachusetts, and they do more starters for strawberries and different fruits.
Okay.
And they have it's a big production. A lot of people order their starters from there,
Oh,
but
interesting.
it's more Western Massachusetts. Again, it was a family member who
Right.
broke off and did that business. So
Right. Great. So we've got a donut video to tide us over on the website. And then I'll be away. As you know, I'll be farming again in Ireland. And I will be back in July. So we can maybe pick up again July or August, whenever works for you, and kind of see how that busy June went. And folks
yes.
all across the country, of course, around the world who are listening, if you're farmers, you have very busy Junes ahead as well. And we wish you bounty and beauty and all the best.
Patty, just remind everyone where you're going.
Yeah, I'm going. So I woofed, which is volunteering on organic farms across the United States. And then I did it across Ireland. And I'm going back to do it again. And I'll talk more about it, when I get back. But I'm particularly excited about where I'm going and what I'm experiencing. It's a spirituality based um, agriculture experience where I'm going. And I've had several in that genre. I was with the Krishnas in Utah with their llamas, and the Dominican Sisters of Peace in Kansas. And this kind of continues my global spiritual involvement through agriculture, which again, it's an exciting thing that we can find, like you say, we can find our sanctuaries in the soil. I feel that
Yep.
very much, and it's very much my meditation. I'm really grateful, to be able to help grow food. And right now here in Atlanta, the peas are abundant,
Nice.
and I have a saying that anytime I hear bad news, I plant. That they say that seeds are the ultimate act of faith in the future, and there's seems to always be bad news. And so I seem to plant a lot. And right now there are peas. And I keep saying that we have created peas on earth.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah. And so for just these brief few weeks, or every time I look at them, it just reminds us that what we can actually do when we plant seeds of hope for the future. So I just send that message to everyone. If you can't do anything else today, just plant a seed. Plant a seed,
Exactly.
and then see what happens in a few days and in a week, and keep staying
Yep.
and seeing what happens next.
I just want to end with a really funny story. I think this another animal story. So one thing I did not anticipate, there are about 23 cows at the farm, and they're usually on the other side of the highway because the farm goes. And so I have a mobile phone for the store, and I'm usually carrying it around. And I have gotten probably 5 or 6 phone calls with cows that have gotten out and are in the middle of the road. So I get these calls and they're like, one of your cows is loose on whatever road. And I immediately have to call David Nurse because they're his cows, and he'll go out and get them and bring them back. And it's just the funniest thing though, because that's not something I've ever experienced before. And I just laugh every time I get the call. It's just like it's becoming a very common thing.
Right, right.
Usually dogs are loose here on Long Island, not cows.
Yeah.
So it's just...
It's an outward sign of how your life has changed.
Yes,
Yeah.
it totally is. So I like to tell people that story because I'm just like, definitely significant change in that respect.
I love that. And yeah, in Ireland, I've noticed I sing to the cows when I'm on my bike rides, and they are very, very responsive. They just stand, they seem to be the only ones who love my singing. So if you're ever trying to catch a cow, just, a little round of Molly Malone seems to do well.
I love it. Very good.
So,
I'll keep that in mind. I'll
yeah,
tell the people who call.
right.
Well, you have a wonderful trip. I cannot wait.
Yay.
I really can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah,
And
and likewise all
yep,
your adventures. So lots to catch up on.
excellent. All right, we will speak soon. Enjoy. All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye, hon.
I hope our AgriTourist podcast prompts you to think more about where your food comes from, whether it be your vegetables, fruits, meats, and even those sweet treats. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with someone you think may truly benefit from or be inspired by it. Visit us at agra-tourist.com. Until next time.